Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from PhoneSuite. I'm David Rasky, Sales Director, and I'm going to be the moderator for just a few minutes. I'm going to introduce Frank Melville, the President of PhoneSuite, who's going to be giving the presentation. Just give a little background on Frank. Frank is the president of our company. He literally did grow up in the hotel business. As a hotelier, his family still owns 4 hotels, which gives him a great perspective from being a technology person, as you see, 30 years in hotel technology, which he has worked to not just use hotel technology, but to use in a way that's affordable and of value to the hotel, which I think he brings something special to this because now he runs a technology company only for hospitality. Frank does have a master's degree in electrical engineering, which makes him a great combination of an engineer, a technologist, a hotel manager, and a successful businessman. So that's why he is interviewed frequently. He does write guest articles. He appears in national publications, and he's a guest speaker at several of the national, in fact, international hotel associations. All right, so Frank, are you ready?
I am ready. Thank you very much, David.
There you go.
Let's get off that ugly mug there and get to just a quick bit of housekeeping. If you like to ask a question, down here in the bottom of this little control panel, it says enter a question for staff. If you type a question in there, Angela here, who is helping me out, is going to see your question. She'll write them down. It won't interrupt me, so don't worry about that. And I will not answer it right away, but at the end we'll get to those questions. So without any further ado, let's get on to the presentation itself. Now we're doing this webinar as a very short webinar, about 15 minutes, and we're going to do a 3-part series. Part 1, the one we're doing today, is covering the evolution of hotel phone systems so that we can figure out what the future of hotel voice technology is going to be. And we'll look at not just the PBX, but the guest room phone as well. We'll give you a little teaser at the end for all the cool stuff that the future technology is going to allow us to do, and that will be the second webinar that we do in the next couple of weeks, and of course you'll all get an invite to that as well. And then part 3, we'll start talking about SIP and software as a service, meaning cloud-based services, and the savings. The big part is the savings that can be expected with the future technology and everything that allows. So here we go. Let's jump into what the future of hotel voice technology will be, and what in the heck does this typewriter have to do with the future of hotel voice technology? Well, we're going to look at communications technology and kind of track what happened with word processing and typewriters, because it parallels very, very closely to what has happened and I believe will happen with PBX technology. And when I say PBX, I mean PBX in general, but also let's think of it as specifically in the hotel. So here's an old-fashioned typewriter, and it's in a completely mechanical device. You press a key, throws a lever, and the key strikes the page, and your letter comes out on that page. In the early days of PBXs, it was largely mechanical technology there as well. Here's a very old-fashioned phone, and when you lifted the handle on this mechanical phone, it sent a signal to an operator who, with a human being, human intervention required, had to physically plug a cable into a jack that corresponds with that phone, answer the phone, talk to you, figure out where you wanted your call to go, and plug the other end of that cable into a jack corresponding to the phone that you wanted to talk to. This was the actual switching technology of the day, and again, completely mechanical. Quickly moved into electro-mechanical, meaning a combination of mechanical and electronics. On this old typewriter, you press a key, and that would send a signal to a motor that would rotate ahead and in a certain direction and fire another motor to strike the page, much like the mechanical, only with electronics driving everything. Similarly, in the PBX technology, we had an old-fashioned rotary dial phone, and each time you dial a number on this phone, it would send a series of pulses down the wire into the PBX, and now, oh, gone is the operator, no longer completely human and no longer completely mechanical. This is what's called a stepping switch, and it's a series of relays that get hit by those electrical pulses from the phone, and they throw these relays so that, in effect, it does the same thing as that operator would do. It plugs your phone with a direct connection to your destination phone so that you can talk. Now, obviously, nobody's using any of these technologies today, but because they continue to evolve. And in the word processing world, now I'm going to say word processing, the next evolution past that typewriter, that electrical typewriter, was an actual word processing device. This is not a computer per se. Yes, it's using full digital technology. There's a computer brain inside of it, but this was designed to be a word processor specifically for typing, editing, and then printing out documents. And what made it a huge advance here is that the mechanical aspect of typing was completely taken away until you're ready to print it. You could type in a letter or a document. It would store inside of the memory. You could put it on a floppy disk. You can edit it. And then when you're ready to print it, you type it out. But the main thing here is that this is digital technology, and it is in a sort of a self-contained unit. And similarly, when we move into the PBX world with the same technology, they came out with these digital phone systems where the speech and everything is digitized. Here's a little digital phone. It's got DTMF buttons. It also has additional feature buttons like hold, transfer, etc. And pressing those buttons would send a digital signal to the PBX. And here is a PBX that is still in use today, believe it or not, in many properties. But the important thing about this is that all this digital technology inside of this proprietary device is proprietary, and it means that it's going to be a closed system. If anything in there breaks, you have to go to the manufacturer or at least find an identical part to fix it. In addition, any new features that might become available through software have to be, in a very difficult way, loaded into this, or perhaps just a few years after this is produced, no longer available at all because it didn't make sense for the manufacturer to continue developing software for an older product line. So the main thing here is that this is a proprietary closed solution. Yes, it's digital. Yes, they're in use today, but it is not something that can be improved or enhanced. And very interesting that a majority of hotels today are still using a system that is one of these digital proprietary closed systems. And we, in fact, here at PhoneSuite continue to make them today because they continue to sell. So what happened with word processing after that word processor closed proprietary system? Well, the big advance is really that the entire word processing solution just became a software application. And here's Microsoft Word, one of the national or worldwide favorites for word processing applications, and it just is installed and runs on whatever your favorite PC is. And this is just an example of an HP PC, but it could be any PC out there. And the advantages here that this offered was by making it a software application, there were multiple vendors available for the software, and you could install the software on a variety of non-proprietary hardware platforms. And that certainly made huge advances in the word processing world. You got more options, more features, and as we'll see, probably at a better price. In the hotel or general PBX world, we do have already today an analogy to this, that the hotel solution is a software application, and it drives what are called SIP phones. Now, this looks very much like a digital phone, but this is actually like a mini computer on the network. And it's got a nice display screen, and all the buttons are, even though they send a signal to the PBX software application, they're not fixed like there isn't a specific hold button necessarily. It becomes a lot more flexible and a lot more powerful. And again, these are in use today. The software application that runs it, however, is like Microsoft Word. It's got to be running on something somewhere, and here is an example of a server that might be running an IP PBX. And here's where the term IP PBX and VoIP come in. Voice over IP is the platform of choice for a software PBX as a simple application, and IP PBX is a generic term for a software application that is running on some server somewhere and driving all of the PBX functionality, and in fact running all of the phones and all the connections. So our first conclusion then about the future of hotel voice technology is that the future hotel PBX is just going to be a software application running somewhere. Call it a service on a server or call it an application on a server. The server could be located in the property or it could be in the cloud, as we'll see in a second here, but it is simply a software application. Moving on again to see where word processing has continued since it hit the main milestone of becoming just a software application. We now see Microsoft Word and even some other word processing applications being served up from the cloud. What this means is that you don't have to install the application on your PC. All you do is point your browser at a certain address and log in, and you get all the word processing functionality through your browser. So what are the advantages there? The big one we just talked about, you don't have to install it on your PC. Also, as the software itself is improved by the manufacturer, you don't have to install updates. They are installed in the cloud service automatically, and so the next time you log on to use the word processor, any new features will just automatically be there. And those are pretty cool features, but they also tout the fact that this should lower costs, and the jury is really still out on that. Does it really lower costs? Well, if you think about it, my style is I don't buy Microsoft Word every single time they come out with a new release. I might let it run a few years more, and I'm trying to get the most out of my investment. With cloud-based services, you must pay every month for the right to use that. And the moment you stop paying for the right to use that cloud-based service, you will no longer have a word processor. And keep that in mind, because there are a lot of companies out there, especially in the PBX world, who are coming out with cloud-based hotel solutions that are trying to get you to do a cost analysis based on just a couple of years. And you really should not just look at a couple of years. Look at the planned lifetime of the system, and we'll talk about that more in a second here. But similarly to the word processing served up in a cloud solution, you can put something like our VoiceWare solution in the cloud, and it can drive your admin and guest room phones through the cloud right at the property level. So instead of running on your property, it's running in the cloud. Again, be really careful if you look at this type of solution. There are problems with it. Obviously, it depends completely on you having a good connection and enough bandwidth to the cloud to be able to use it full time. We've experienced ourselves some problems with this and have some customers who switched out of a cloud-based solution into a premise-based solution because the cloud couldn't deliver like they wanted it to. And again, you will pay a monthly fee every month if you anticipate that your phone system should last 10 years or 15 years. Don't do a 5-year analysis. Do a 10-year analysis. What you'll find is, in today's world, the cloud-based solution does look less expensive in a short period of time, but past 5 years on toward 10 years, the premise-based solutions are still quite a bit less expensive than cloud-based solutions. In any case, our second conclusion about the future hotel voice technology is that non-proprietary hardware, meaning the ability to get this phone or any other SIP phone because they all follow these open standards, and the ability to choose software from us here at PhoneSuite, our VoiceWare solution, or from a different company that also makes a hotel PBX software solution, means that the overall solution should start costing less. You're no longer tied into a proprietary fixed hardware set, nor are you tied by the hardware you've selected into one certain specific solution or application provider. The big deal is it should be your choice. Now, one of the cool things that this new platform, this software application running as a voice over IP on a network, either in the cloud or on your property, one of the cool things that this allows is internet calling, or what we call SIP trunking. And this is a huge potential for cost savings, as we'll see in our third presentation in the webinar series. But down here at your property, you might have admin phones or guest phones. You might have the IPPBX running there. But through your internet service provider, phone calls can go to the internet for free, and as far as they can get in the internet for free, and then you only pay for the part of the call that goes out to the public network or to the cell service to get to the final destination. And again, we'll talk about this more later, but this is another huge potential for savings, and this is another important piece of where hotel voice technology is going, or at least a neat feature that it can offer us in the future. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about mobile apps. Now, here's an iPad and an iPhone, and on both of them, an app is running that is a word processor. Going back to the word processing analogy, I can now use my mobile device to do word processing. Personally, I don't like this. It's not as flexible, powerful, easy to use as I'd like it to be. But if I need to, and I'm say just with my mobile phone and need to edit a document quickly, I can do that. A mobile app can get me into Word, get me to my documents, and I can make some changes. And similarly, there are mobile phone apps, and I'm not talking about the actual phone service that's built into your mobile phone or your mobile device, but what's called a SIP client. It's the equivalent of, say, an admin or guest room phone as a piece of software that can run on your mobile device. And in theory, and we actually do this at trade shows and for demonstrations here at PhoneSuite, we can register this to that software service, and it looks and operates just like your guest room phone. Well, imagine that that becomes more guest-centric. In the future, our third conclusion is that both the guest room phone and probably the admin phones as well will go mobile. Won't replace the desk phone, won't replace the room phone completely, but you'll have a mobile option at least so that you have something on your mobile phone that acts like your guest room phone or an admin phone. That's it for this quick introduction as to where we're going, what the future hotel voice technology holds for us. The conclusions in summary again were the future hotel voice system is going to be a software application or just a service if you want to call it that for those who are IT knowledgeable. It's running at your property or it's running in the cloud. We also said that since it's going to be on non-proprietary hardware, you can use anybody's phone, you can use anybody's gateways, you can use anybody's server hardware, and because you'll be able to choose from different software vendors for that hotel voice software application like VoiceWare that we offer now, costs should go down. And finally, the guest room and probably admin phones will become more mobile. Now, we're going to take questions in a second here, so now would be a good time if you have any questions to just type them in that chat box at the bottom of your screen. But I'm going to give a little teaser while a couple of people are hopefully asking some questions. In Part 2, we're going to look at cool new stuff that you can do at the guest room, front desk, and other parts of the hotel with this new technology. It just lends itself to a whole bunch of things that couldn't be done before that now can. And a simple one is that, for example, in VoiceWare comes preloaded with 3 languages, and the PMS tells us what language the guest speaks from the moment they check in. Their wake-up calls, any auto attendant or automated response systems they dial into, even automated voicemail messages that get dropped into the guest's mailbox will play to that guest in their own language, even if different guests in the hotel have different languages, and there are over 200 languages available. That mobile guest room app that I showed you that we're using today is actually going to morph into a simple hotel guest app that you pull up when you check into the hotel. They'll give you a pin at the front desk or when you call down to the front desk. You put the pin in, and now it knows that you're John Smith in room 105, and you'll have icons for the services available at that hotel, the bell desk, the restaurant, pool, spa, room service, and you just press the icon for whichever service in that hotel you want to contact, and a call will be placed without you having to know the number or anything. You just press spa, and then the phone will ring in your ear, and they'll say, "Hello, this is the spa, Mr. Smith. I see you're in room 105. Would you like to set up a massage?" Another very cool feature that you're going to see discussed a little bit more in the next one is a browser-based console. So that $1,900 huge clunker that sits on the desk goes away, and you can have as many copies of this browser console running at front desk and concierge and even backup positions. And in fact, this isn't a software application that you install now. This is just pointing your browser at the server that is serving up that hotel application, and you get this 360-degree view of the hotel where you can quickly look up guests, transfer, call them, set wake-up calls, change their dialing permissions, and so on. It's very this tool we're using now, and it gets probably the most compliments from those of our customers using VoiceWare. And finally, another cool thing we're going to look at among all the very cool technical things that this can do is that a software application running on a server is always watching itself, watching everything that's connected to it, and reporting it to a monitoring center. And just as a quick example, everybody's had an experience with a PMS interface that's gone down. I don't care if it happens once a year or once a month, but the PMS interface goes down and you don't learn about it for a few days because you have to notice that for example, phone calls have stopped posting. With something like VoiceWare as a software application, it's monitoring itself, and we have, in a number of cases, proactively noticed within a minute, in fact, that the PMS interface is down. We try to get it restarted remotely. If we cannot, we call the hotel and ask them to check out the interface or get the PMS company on the line. And we have gotten interfaces back up and running in a matter of minutes instead of a matter of days. So that's one quick set of teasers for Part 2 and Part 3. We're going to look at how you can save money by using non-proprietary hardware. There are several ways that saves you money. The built-in SIP trunking is a huge potential savings. In fact, we've had some hotels who have paid for their system. The effective lease value is saved just in the SIP trunking savings over traditional phone lines. And then, of course, we're going to talk about software as a service or cloud-based. So that's your teaser for Parts 2 and Part 3, and I'm going to jump into questions here. And let's see. Ray is asking, will the mobile app be pushed to the guest mobile phone on a per-stay basis? It will today have to be an app that you download. Hopefully, we'll get all the brands together and you'll download it once, or we'll probably, and this will probably take 5 years, all of the software vendors who are using these open standards, these SIP standards and VoIP standards, will agree upon some technology for contacting that app. And so you'll load it once and then just pull it up like you pull up, oh, I don't know, Angry Birds or whatever your favorite app is, and put in a PIN number, and that phone suddenly will activate for the stay at that hotel. Yeah, and a little bit more about the room phones going mobile. John Sumner's asking this question. Oh, sorry, John Sumner's saying I already answered his question, but yes, here's a cool thing about that mobile app. I could be in a taxi on my way back to the hotel. It doesn't have to be on the hotel's LAN, on a wireless there. I can be on my cell network, and I pull up that app and I click room service, and they think I'm calling from the room. It looks to the rest of the hotel like that is my guest room phone. I've got another question here. Are you saying we shouldn't buy a digital PBX, or we're wasting our money if we do? Aren't these new systems really available, and aren't they more expensive, from Robert in Texas? And the answer to that is we do believe there are still times when a digital fixed system does the trick. If it's a small hotel or a hotel that doesn't need a bunch of features, if they just want to get something in for the lowest current cost, then yes, there are still good reasons to buy a digital PBX. You just have to know when you buy a digital PBX, a closed proprietary system, that you are buying a closed proprietary system. And sometime during that system's lifetime, you'll see hotel PBX technology shift like the word processing did to the point where you basically obsoleted that old style PBX. Oh, my good friend John from up in the mountains. Clarify your comment about SIP trunkings with respect to paying for SIP calls to the destination. There are SIP trunking providers that will give you as many minutes as you can eat for a low fixed monthly price, and it looks like John is using a service like that. We predominantly see SIP trunking providers that are charging for minutes over the base of, say, 2,000 minutes. But there is an actual cost associated with that last hop out onto the public switch telephone network at per minute cost. Whether they absorb it or pass it on to you depends on the SIP trunking provider. Bill would like me to discuss the property infrastructure. Yes, there is additional infrastructure requirements. However, in some properties, you can install all of these SIP devices on the existing LAN. We are not seeing it happen much with the guest room phones, and we're sort of getting into the next couple of presentations, but we aren't seeing it happen with SIP, with guest room phones. People are staying away from SIP there just because of the high cost of building out that infrastructure, and the fact that today, with the guest room phones already having been non-proprietary for decades, their costs have already been driven quite low. Compare the cost of any guest room phone today to, say, an AT&T guest room phone from 30 years ago, or even that little ComDial proprietary phone at a couple $100 a piece, and you've seen that happen already. SIP phones for the guest room aren't down there yet. So it doesn't make sense in most cases financially put SIP phones at the guest room? This is a very interesting question from Bill Boyer. Bill has pointed out that people aren't using the guest room phones. In fact, it's like 1.2% usage of hotel guest room phones in terms of revenue production. Obviously, people are still calling for room service. You got to have it there for 911 reasons. As long as we're going down this path, and I hope everyone's interested enough to hear about this, about 4 years ago at our annual technology trade show, High Tech, the one show that it deals specifically with hotel technology every year, the guest room of the future had no phone in it at all. It was just an intercom. Well, they found out that that intercom was more expensive to put in place than a guest room phone. But what they were acknowledging is that most of the guest room phone use is for intercom type calls and then that occasional emergency call, or if your cell phone is dead and you absolutely must make a call, then that phone is used. Yes, that's been said, but the phones are still there. There was on LinkedIn, if you belong to the telecommunications groups out there, there was a LinkedIn article placed with lots of comments on it about, hey, when's the last time you saw a payphone? In fact, more often than you see a payphone, you see an empty rack that used to hold payphones, and they've all been pulled out. Nobody is using payphones anymore. It's very rare, even in hotels, that you can find a payphone, and that's because everyone's using their mobile devices. Isn't the same going to happen with a guest room phone? Well, you can't easily call the spa or call the front desk for a wake-up call or late checkout without that hotel guest room phone. So some type of hotel guest room phone is going to remain forever, and some type of phone system is going to remain forever. But keep in mind, what we're saying here is that those of us who have been in the digital proprietary hotel phone system business for decades are going to see things change. That hotel phone system is becoming an application served up on a server that could be running the PMS and the fire alarm system and all kinds of other applications as well. So it's no longer going to be a huge chunk of hardware and as big an investment as it used to be. I think that's about it. I'm going to stop it there because we've already gone over. If you have questions, please feel free to call us. Again, you'll get a thank you email follow-up. Well, thank you, everybody, for attending. I'm just delighted that we had over 100 people sign up for this, and most people attended, and we will look forward to seeing you again at part 2.